So first podcast,
Yeah.
first one ever.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I appreciate you. So just want to introduce everybody. We'll jump right into it. So Chelsey from Hives to Home. I got that right?
Hive to home.
Hive to Home.
Yeah.
Hive to Home. My apologies. And you see, already messed up.
No,
So
it's okay. It happens a lot, actually.
does it?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Are you originally from Halifax? Where are you from?
So I'm
Little back.
Chelsey,
Yeah.
and I own Hive to Home. I'm from Sackville.
You're from Sackville.
Yeah.
Are you still are you living in Sackville too?
No.
But this is your old stomping grounds.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
What part?
Over on Riverside. So I went to
Okay.
Sackville High.
Okay, cool. Man, did you hear about what happened on Riverside?
Oh yeah, I did.
Yeah, the
Tragedy.
Yeah, the place that burnt. What a freaking nightmare.
Yeah.
Yeah, a fair bit of tragedy going around in the world. It's an unfortunate thing. So yeah, what's a little bit about your background? Like, what did you do prior to being an entrepreneur?
Yeah. So I'm from Sackville, and then I went to Dalhousie, and I did a double major in environmental science and environment, sustainability, and society.
Oh wow.
My passion is waste. I love garbage.
Okay,
So
that makes sense.
yeah, it's very aligned with what I do.
Mhm.
So I grew up outside. We were always scuba diving, camping, playing outside until the lights came on.
Yeah.
And my passion's garbage. So I did that, and then I went to work for the Seaport Farmers Market,
Okay.
and I loved it. I loved working there.
Man, maybe that's why you look familiar. I've been through there a few times. Were you always kind of around, like bobbing around? Or?
In the market,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And that's kind of where this all started, or?
Well, I went off on mat leave from
Okay.
the market, and then one day I looked at my fridge, and I saw it was full of single-use plastic.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Boo.
yeah, I know better than this. What am I doing? But it just became it was like convenient.
Yeah.
And so I started making the wraps for myself because I knew what they were. I had heard about them. So I started making them, and then I put up an Instagram and a Facebook to just show what I was doing. And then friends and family wanted them, so I started giving them away. And then one day, Colleen Jones from CBC emailed me and said, can I come to your studio? We're doing a segment on single-use plastics and waves of change and reducing single-use plastics.
Oh, so the news picked you up.
Yeah, CBC. So they came over, and it was actually cool because my grandfather was a cameraman for CBC.
Oh, that's neat.
Yeah, so he's passed on, so I was able to
Oh.
like reminisce with Colleen about
Yeah.
my grandfather.
A little bit of a connection.
Yeah, very small world. She had no idea. So CBC posted that segment, and then the Weather Channel cross-posted it.
Oh,
And I was
wow.
like in my living room with the website I made the day before, watching stuff roll in.
So things kind of just like happened.
Yeah, and
Wow.
then stores reached out, and then it just like snowballed very organically from there.
You're in retail.
Yeah, I am.
Where can you be found if people want to find you?
Yeah,
Aside from your own site.
yeah, you can buy directly from me, and then there's a list on the website with like up-to-date retailers.
Okay. How many retailers?
There's Inkwell, downtown Halifax, Luminate in Bedford, and then there's some outside of the city, but those are the inner city ones.
Okay. Cool. And how's that relationship been going? Like,
I love them.
yeah.
Yeah, I do.
I heard a lot of good things about, Luminate.
Yeah, Luminate in Bedford.
Yeah. They're a whole holistic type health food, kind of natural.
It's so like bulk food too, like package free. So that's where I get the jojoba oil for the wraps.
Okay.
Bring in my mason jar and fill it up there.
Yeah, so kind of bring us through the process, I guess. Like, how do you make these wraps? What kind of wraps do you have? What are, kind of maybe bring us through the ins and the outs of like their usage and what they're good for.
Yeah, so a beeswax wrap is a reusable food covering. You can cover lots of things with it, but primarily food. And then, so I use 100% cotton, package-free jojoba oil, sustainably harvested pine rosin, which is like that really sticky sap on the side of the tree.
Is that what gives it that texture?
Yeah, that little extra stick. But just the right amount so that it's not weird on your hands.
And part of my ignorance, but
Jojoba,
what does that come from?
a plant, the jojoba plant in Mexico.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Chris.
It's almost like a nut.
I'll keep up.
Yeah, it's okay. And then beeswax, and the beeswax is always from Nova Scotian farmers. 'Cause
Okay.
I love small business, and so when I look, like a pillar of my business is I try to look around as I grow and to see who can I bring along with me.
Mm-hmm.
So when I started doing the wraps, I knew I was going to get the beeswax from Cosman and Whitten. It had to be a Nova Scotian farmer,
Nice.
and that I won't waive on that. So the beeswax is always from the valley.
Awesome. I used to run a little when I was doing my corporate job, and my father, we grew up lobster fishermen, so grew up in that industry. And when my father was looking to retire, do you ever see the guys selling fish off the back of the trucks?
Oh, yeah.
So my dad has a couple of buddies that do that, and he was kind of starting to think about retirement and what to do. And he's like, Chris, do you think we could maybe do that in the city? And I was like, probably, but like I'm pretty busy Monday to Friday, and at the time liked my weekends, and I was like, yeah, probably, but Dad, I don't know if I got like time, because I'd like to do stuff with my spare time, like, I guess. And I kind of just shrugged it off, and then got thinking about it and kind of got set up. And anyway, the short end of the story was like my whole bit was local harvesters, producers, and all that as well. So my whole thing that I wouldn't budge on either was like fresh haddock or seafood from the province, and I didn't want anything like that was exported in. I made a few exceptions with salmon, because there's a lot of New Brunswick farm salmon, and sometimes it was hard to get. But yeah, I tried to stay pretty upfront with, like, I'm only getting local products. So, and I'm a big local guy. The podcast is all about local businesses, entrepreneurs, services. So yeah, I feel that, you want to keep it local, keep it at home, support the people in the community, and do good for the community. So that's awesome.
Exactly. And it's really great quality beeswax too.
Yeah. What do you know about bees? What can you tell us about bees?
So every batch of beeswax I get them in milk cartons. Like
Milk
it's a
cartons.
2-liter thing of beeswax.
Okay.
I buy a couple, like 100 pounds of beeswax, but they come in 2-liter cartons. And every carton, it's a different color, a different shade of golden yellow, and it's a different scent. Some are more floral, some are more earthy, depending on where the bees have been.
Oh, wow.
Because my farmer, Cosman and Whidden, they have hives all over Nova Scotia, because there's blueberry farmers that will get the bees to pollinate their field. So depending on where the bees have been, it smells a little bit different.
What they pollinated, and then like went from like flower to flower, plant to plant. That's interesting.
It is, yeah.
Cool. So are you kind of just like a one gal operation? You make them all by hand yourself?
I do. When I started making them between 2 pieces of parchment paper.
Okay.
So I bootstrapped the business. I had a clothes iron. I had parchment paper. I bought $5 worth of beeswax, like $10 worth of jojoba oil, and just made it work with like a Walmart piece of cotton. I started making them between parchment papers, and then I went to making them in the oven. And then in 2022, I had the dream of getting a griddle, like a McDonald's griddle.
Okay.
And I put it on a screensaver on my phone. I had like a commercial griddle as the screensaver on my phone and my lock screen.
Like a vision board.
Yeah, I was like, I want this griddle. And then Seaway, the community bank.
Credit Union Atlantic?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, they had, and actually applications are open right now. They have like their community investment grants. So I applied to get a grant to purchase my griddle, and I got the grant. And so the griddle, and now I make them on the griddle 93% faster than I did in the oven. Because as a small business, that's a big deal.
Right. Yeah. You got to be quick to market, get your products in. Yeah.
And it actually improved the quality of the product too. I'm able to get a more consistent product.
Just because of the size and the heat and the...
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm not hunched over an oven pulling them out and doing them. Like it's just a better workflow.
Cool.
So it's me. Mr. Hive to Home is there too. He helps with the retail. But yeah, it's me.
Mr. Hive.
Mr. Hive.
Your other half.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I was like, whoa, who's Mr. Hive?
Mr. Hive.
It's like, wait, I met him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we met at the Christmas market, and I was kind of sharing before we got started that what my wife and I had a product of yours, and like I said, I can't recall where we got it. But anyway, we had it, and we used it all the time, like sealing up, like if you had, I don't know, chopped up some onions or some vegetables in a bowl, you wrap it. It was really easy to form around the bowl, and it stuck. Yeah. And anyway, unfortunately, it found its way in the dishwasher, and it got ruined. But I think you shared with us that you can kind of revive these things if they kind of do get a little worn, because eventually anything gets kind of used up. Yeah. And how can you bring us through the process of, like, say, some of the viewers bought a package and they want to revitalize some of their products instead of buying new? There's a method to do that? There
is, because they last a long time unless they go in the dishwasher.
What would be Stay out of the dishwasher.
Yeah.
What's the lifespan before we get into like revitalizing it? Like what's like your product life cycle, I guess? Years.
Yeah.
Several years.
Because after a few months, they'll start to get a little crumbly, the beeswax, which doesn't bother me. I understand if it bothers some people, but they start to get a little crumbly.
Right. So they'll flake.
Yeah. You can put it between 2 pieces of parchment paper, put the clothes iron on top, and give it like a gentle rub, and it'll melt the wax on there.
Okay.
But 2 tips is to push the wax to the top and then wet your fingers before you pick it up, and then that way the beeswax doesn't stick to you and it'll look brand new.
Okay.
And then later when all the beeswax has worn off, you can just I sell the little pucks with my preferred mixture, like the same mixture that I use to make the wraps in puck form. And then you just break it apart and put it on the wrap, and same thing between the 2 pieces of parchment paper with the clothes iron on top.
Nice. You don't have to worry about kind of doing it all yourself. You just get your secret product mix.
Yeah.
Melt it on, flatten it out.
Yeah. I've gone through all the trial and error.
Right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I love going into elementary schools and doing it with them.
Oh, I bet.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I love going in.
Do you do a lot of school like work, like with different schools and stuff in the area?
Like 2 to 5 a year.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. To talk about beeswax wraps and to make them and they watch. Yeah.
And you find like that's pretty well received by the kids? Like they understand like the importance of kind of the environment and doing their part?
My favorite grades to teach are like 4 to 6.
Yeah.
Because they are so excited. They're so easy to hype up, and they have such good questions. Like they are engaged and ready.
Kids have like pretty straightforward questions.
They are direct. How much money is in your bank account?
Right. Right.
Yeah. And I love it.
That's awesome.
Not that question, but in general.
Yeah. But they got good questions. So let's kind of bring it back a little bit. When you said you had a passion for garbage, when did the passion for the environment and garbage and waste, like, can you bring us to a specific point where maybe that started to become really a major part of your life and something you wanted to make a change with?
I would say it was more of like a slow burn because
Yeah.
I grew up outside. So it was either we're camping on the weekends. We've been to like every campground in Nova Scotia. We're always camping or scuba diving or like out in the garage working on the car or something. So we were always outside.
Yeah, we were also like big campers. We did all around all the national parks, all around Nova Scotia, PEI, New Brunswick, Cape Breton.
Yeah.
So yeah, can attest we probably had a very similar upbringing.
Ice fishing.
Never did ice fishing. Did a lot of fishing, not any ice fishing.
Yeah, we went fishing too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were just always outside. And then when you're outside, there was also a lot of garbage.
Yeah, that's disheartening. I do a little trail running too and some running. Fell off a little bit, so anybody that's watching wants to call bullshit. Like, I haven't been out in my groups in a bit, so fair. But it's always disheartening to me to see garbage in the trail in the woods. Like for me, it's like, I walk my dogs every morning on Dave Barrett.
Oh yeah, I see that on Instagram.
Yeah,
Nice dogs.
yeah. So my wife's actually walking them now, so we can have peace and quiet. Because otherwise, one of them he wants to be in the middle of everything, so it'd be disruptive. But I mean, I try and make my coffee home as much as I can. Just everything's so expensive, and if you can cut costs somewhere, then why not? Especially if you can do it at home.
Yeah.
But the odd time I do stop at Tim Hortons before we get out to where we're walking, like I bring my cup and I drink it on the way in, and it's in my pocket, and I carry it out. And for me, I just can't understand why people would just leave their filth and garbage in
It's
the
crazy.
woods.
I'm on the program advisory committee too for like Adopt Nova Scotia, the litter pick me up, and it's crazy the litter
Really?
that's out there. Yeah, but there's a lot of people making a really strong effort to like pick up the litter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And is there like groups that you could get involved with if you felt equally as strong to like make a difference?
Yeah, you can sign up. They give you all the stuff you need to pick it up.
Really? And is it like group events, or is it kind of something you do on your own? Or?
I think you need a group.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but all the information's on the website, and then you
Okay.
just pick the supplies up at the library.
Cool.
Yeah, it's so easy.
Yeah, so that's where it all started.
Just being outside.
Just being outside.
Yeah, and then I went to Dalhousie, and I do remember one moment in class. We had a speaker come in, like a solid waste educator, which is like my long-term dream job.
Okay.
He came in, and this man was so excited about garbage. Like I remember his enthusiasm. He was like fist pumping aluminum cans, talking about spaghetti, and I remember being like, he is so excited about his job. He loves his job.
It's really something when people love what they do, eh?
Yeah. Yeah.
My wife's a forensics investigator for Halifax Police, and even with the stuff, like she sees all kinds of stuff, and she still comes home like happy, fulfilled, and I think as much bad as she sees, the good that she does outweighs some of the cons of the job in terms of like what they're exposed to.
Yeah.
And as far as people being happy and fulfilled and loving their job, like I haven't met too many people like her that are like, I legit love not just the paycheck, not just this part of it, but
Yeah.
like the entire thing. So it's really cool to hear when people are really passionate about what they do.
I love doing Hive to Home, and I do it to stay connected to that like-minded community and to fill my passion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you hear all this stuff. I'm bit of a Rogan fanboy, but so I don't know if you listen to much Rogan.
No, I don't.
No, but they're always talking about, he'll have people coming on about like human optimization and health, and they're always talking about the phthalates in the plastic and, and the single-use plastics, and even like I seen a reel not too long ago. It wasn't from Rogan, but it was I wish I could remember the lady's name, but basically it's like anytime you heat something up in a plastic dish, some of it, unfortunately, I didn't know this, kind of gets into your food and into your body, and can cause issues. I don't know the host issues that it can cause, but it culminates to not good.
Yeah, I think there's a variety of issues. They're saying heart blockages now for microplastics.
Heart blockages.
Yeah, or it affects your hormones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that's I find that hard to tread that fine line of like educating. Okay, here's the possible side effects of using a single-use plastic versus like fear mongering.
Right.
It's a really funny
Fine
line. Yeah.
Yeah, and you see a lot of like fear mongering and stuff out on social media. Everybody's trying to hook you in with the negative, and it's a weird place out there for sure.
It is.
So you also donate 5% of your sales to Dal Beekeeping.
I do.
For every product that's sold.
Every sale that comes across my desk, every sale from Hive to Home, 5% goes to the Dalhousie Beekeeping Society.
That's awesome.
It is.
And can you speak to like the importance of bees? Do you know much about like their value to the world?
I'm not a bee expert.
No.
No, I mean, so the Dalhousie Beekeeping Society, they have hives, and so they look after real bees.
Okay.
And so
like the ones in the boxes, and they think that.
yeah, they're looking after real bees. But I'm not an expert in bees, honestly. I know they're important for food and pollination, and
Yeah, because I heard if like we lost bees, I think.
It's like 80% of our food supply.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we would kind of fall by the wayside as a species if we didn't have them. So it's important to keep the bee population healthy and abundant. Otherwise, I think we'd be in hard shape.
Yeah.
Yeah. So diving into a little bit of your products, like what type of products do you have? I know we mentioned one of your favorites is the twist ties.
Yeah.
Can you speak to a few other variations of the products that you have?
Yeah, so there's the Beeswax Wraps. They come in square and they come in round, and it ranges from 2 inches up to 60 inches. So
Okay.
I make rolls of them so that you can cut it all to whatever shape you need. And then I have the twist ties, and like you just keep reusing them. And then I
Nice.
have the pucks with the same ratio of ingredients that I use to make the Beeswax Wraps.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. And can you bring us through kind of the best use for some of your products? I mean, I guess you can kind of wrap anything in them.
Yeah, it's so open-ended, honestly. Like I use mine a lot for onions, apples, especially in lunch boxes, keeping the apple slices from going brown.
Mm-hmm.
You can fold them into sandwich baggies. You can put it on top of a bottle of wine to let it aerate and keep the bugs out. Cheese, it's really great for cheese. Covering bowls, like if you don't finish your supper, just cover the plate instead of dirtying a Tupperware container. So and you just keep reusing them.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So what were some of like the hurdles that you kind of come up against when you're looking to get this business started? Was there anything like for somebody else, maybe not, industry specific, but, for entrepreneurs looking to get into business for themselves, were there any big hurdles for you getting started?
Yeah, I had never made a beeswax wrap before.
Ever.
ever. I knew I wanted to make them, but like I had never cut fabric before. So when I first started cutting fabric, I thought, okay, well, I want to cut a square. What's square? So I got a pizza box and I traced a pizza box onto the fabric and then cut it out with scissors. So it was so inefficient, but it worked for getting a consistent square each time. So now I use a rotary cutter and it's way more efficient. But like I just started with what I thought and grew from there. But there were so many skills along the way that I thought, I've never done this before. And I had to look around and find community. Hey, can you teach me that? And I think I've tried to carry that through doing my business in finding community in knowledge sharing. And I think in the maker community in Nova Scotia, a lot of people are community over competition. Like they're really open to knowledge sharing. Where did you get that stamp made? Where did you get those bags made? Where did you? And everyone wants to lift each other up.
That's cool. And I think that's something maybe that we're lacking a little bit today. It's like, you know, a lot of people are in it. You know, obviously you got to look out for number one and you got to be in it for yourself to some degree. But I think some of that best practice sharing and community and helping, I think that really kind of helps elevate us to kind of the next level and get us, you know, get thoughts that are culminating into actual products and ideas and producing.
Yeah.
So that's some of the hurdles. What would be some of, like, you know, the biggest positives that you got out of starting your own business and making a product that's sustainable for the environment?
Yeah. I think because I love waste, it feels really good to offer something that very authentically I believe in and I used. Like at the core of Hive to Home, I started using them. So when I'm offering these, it's a product that I use every single day in my home and I stand behind it and I believe in it. So it feels really good to offer that and it be like a genuine solution to a problem. Yeah.
That's awesome. So what would be your favorite product that you produce?
The twist ties have been really fun.
Yeah.
And turning stuff upside down and shaking it has been really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we talked about some of like the hurdles of getting into social media. How do you find like the social media aspect of marketing has helped kind of grow your business?
It's for marketing, it's been really strong. So putting myself out there in an authentic way, like I show up, to be honest, I don't care what I look like most of the time. I just show up as I am, how I am, and share what I have to say. And it's built like this really committed community, especially on Instagram, that has been super supportive. But then there's all these hard parts. Like I don't know how to connect my Facebook to my website. So I had to find someone to help me do those things. That's not in my skill set. So it's been both great, but also very difficult.
And what do you find has been the biggest benefit to your business being on social media?
I think making real connections. A lot of very genuine connections have come from there. Because like I work from home doing Hive to Home, and Hive to Home's not my full-time thing. So it's hard to make those inroads and those genuine connections out there because for me there is no office. There's no like water cooler talk. It's
right.
Social media is how I put myself out there. And a lot of the connections have come from social media. That's how schools find me usually. That's how I've just made a lot of friends.
Yeah. And do you find it's been good for business? Like, are you getting a lot of, is a lot of your business coming from social media? Is there a percent that comes or is it majority?
It's social media is online, my biggest driver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And would you ship anywhere?
I would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wherever they want it, they're getting it.
Yeah.
Inside of Canada.
Yeah. Because to me, like the more beeswax wraps in hands, the better.
So what's like your overarching like long-term goal for the business?
Yeah. Short term, it's bread bags. People are knocking down my door for bread bags.
Bread bags.
Bread bags. Yeah. They want bread bags from Hive.
Beeswax bread bags?
They want double layer with a beeswax liner.
Really?
Yeah. So I'm trying to look around me again to see, okay, who's doing this? Who can I bring alongside me to do this with me? Sewing is not my skill set.
No.
So I'm trying to look around, okay, who can I do this with? Who can I bring into this project?
Looking for some partnerships.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Work on somebody else's strengths. And then long term, just keep Hive to Home going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you ever see a point where you may have to bring some people on to help scale the business and get it in more hands and in more retail shops? I mean, I know we're a niche market here, I guess, and some of the holistics natural stores, you know, they're popping up more and more, but there's definitely not as many as like the big box retailers like Sobeys Superstore, Walmart. Any aspirations of approaching these big retailers to get in, or do you like more the small niche market?
I love going into a retailer and knowing someone and knowing that it's family owned. Walmart reached out 2 years ago.
Did they?
Yeah, they did.
That's cool.
It was a huge compliment. And I'll say every time I have doubted or turned my back on this business, it has been put right back in front of me to be like, no, this is what you're supposed to be doing. So
Can you give me an example?
I was doubting Hive to Home. I thought maybe I want to stop doing this.
Is there any particular reason that you're getting some doubts? I'm just kind of digging in
No,
here.
that's okay. I was at the juncture of homeschooling,
Okay.
and I didn't know what that path would look like.
Homeschooling your child?
Yeah, homeschooling kids. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh,
What?
like multiple or just yours?
mine.
Okay.
Yeah. So I was at the juncture of homeschooling and what things would look like, and Walmart had reached out, and I actually declined because it would. I shouldn't say I declined. Walmart reached out, and it wasn't the path I wanted to take because it would launch the business into something totally different.
Right.
Totally different.
Is it different in terms of like the production required to manage
Yeah.
it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And you just weren't quite there yet?
And I don't want to be,
Okay.
to be honest. I really like Hive to Home staying at a size that I enjoy doing. Then I can take on and do well. Like it's really important to me that I only take on what I know I can do well and that I'll enjoy doing. So it's grown very organically, but it's grown at a pace that like everything I've said yes to, I very genuinely meant yes.
Yeah.
And that's really important to me. So like I have a very clear idea of what I want my day-to-day and like life to look like, and it's very easy for me to think, okay, does that align with it? Yes, no, that's not right for me.
Yeah, well, you know what? In this day and age, I think it's important because I even get caught sometimes, and I've been better with it lately, but I like to say yes to a lot, and I had to learn that you can't always be just the yes man and show up all the time. So it's important to make choices that, you know, like you say, do align with your personality, your personal situation, and your vision of where you want things to go. So yeah, good for you for kind of, you know, that's a huge offer, but I think it's good for you that you recognize that, you know, you're happy with where it's at and how it's getting to market, and you can kind of manage that growth around the rest of your schedule.
Yeah, the volume it is now is sustainable, and the relationship that I have now with the retailers and the customers, they're all important to me because I also believe business has to be about the people. So when I see a customer's name come through, I know instantly if it's a return customer or a new customer.
Right.
And I really like that. And I'd like to keep it about the people.
Yeah. Do you have any good handle on like the amount of customers that you have that have, you know, taken part in making things more sustainable and better for the environment? Like,
My customers are awesome. They share a lot about how they're using their wraps.
yeah.
And like what they've, not to be like self-fulfilling, but what they've learned from my Instagram that they've implemented in their life. Because I talk about a lot of like solid waste tips online too. And I think people, and they let me know that they enjoy learning about that. And then they go home and they do it.
Yeah.
And I'm always talking about spending like a goal for me last year. The last 2 years was 1,000 hours outside every year. This year it's 1,200 hours outside, and people are doing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. So you build a little community kind of around yourself in the business and kind of helping to educate people on waste, and that's awesome. Can you kind of share with me some of like some waste tips maybe for the viewers, maybe like your top 3 that maybe you've come across for your customers or your community?
I'd love to.
Yeah.
So in my family, we don't do birthday gifts. We do birthday experiences.
That's cool.
It's like one small thing for less stuff.
Yeah.
'Cause also in my house, like less stuff is less clutter. It's less stuff to manage. It's like peace of mind. So less stuff. And if you want, you can go and tour the landfill. You can book a tour and go to the landfill, and they'll walk you through it and teach you.
Like the one at Goodwood or down Prospect or?
Yeah, out that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And no, it's out on the way to Tantallon.
Oh, that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one out there too.
Yeah. And you can go and you can do a tour of it, and they'll teach
Okay.
you. So I took my family to the landfill twice for birthdays.
Okay.
And it had a lasting impact because they were like, now I know when I throw this fork out where it's going to go.
Can you kind of shed some light on a little bit on that? Like what, I don't know the process. I know we bag things separately and garbage goes in one and then paper and goes in another. And then we got, you know, the recyclables and then the plastics. And outside of that, I don't really know what happens.
Oh, it's so cool. So
Yeah.
yeah, so I did the master composter recycling certificate from HRM,
Okay.
and you go and tour each facility, and it's so cool. It's so cool. So if you get the chance, go and tour a facility, because the educators at those facilities are amazing.
Are they as passionate as you?
More.
Yeah.
I love garbage. They love garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you can go and like bend their ear for a minute, or sometimes HRM has solid waste educators do pop up at a library, or you can talk to one directly. They're so helpful. But rinse your plastics and check your local waste sorting guidelines, because even in Nova Scotia, in the city, there's different waste sorting guidelines than the valley. So it all depends on where you are.
Yeah, and I have like I don't know if you noticed the door that was on the lower part when you walk in. That's a nanny suite, and we rent it out. And my cousin's actually in there. He just moved back from Ontario. He's been out there for years, and we had to go through the garbage sorting because in Ontario it all goes in one bag still.
Yeah.
So how far ahead are we from the rest of the country? Do you know? Or
We're leaders.
leaders?
We're doing great.
Nova Scotia's a leader?
Yeah.
And what would be like next in line? Would it be like in the Maritimes, or do you know much
I don't
that?
know, but who's next? I'd
Yeah.
love to tour more facilities, though.
Why do you think other provinces are behind? Is it a lot to manage? Is it the infrastructure? Is it the... Yeah,
I don't know.
we're not sure.
No.
Seems like we're doing more than some for the environment, though.
Yeah, we're doing great. Yeah.
So what would be something, like you said, you mentioned like rinse your plastics. Is there any specifics around that? Just to, it's easier to recycle when it gets to the landfill, or?
Yeah, so the plastics, so you put them in your bag, and then they go to the facility and they get ripped open and they get sorted.
Okay.
And then they get baled. And so then they get sold on the commodity market. So the plastic that's recyclable is the plastic that's able to be baled and then sold on the commodity market.
Okay.
And in that bale, there's a certain percentage of contamination that's allowed. And so those plastics have to be clean and washed. Also, because when you melt them down, they get real goopy.
And then the stuff in it would be goopy.
Yeah. And when someone's sorting plastics and a lid is on a yogurt container and the container's full of yogurt and it gets squished and it busts open, you don't want people covered in yogurt.
Right. Moldy yogurt, probably.
Probably.
Stinky.
Yeah. So take your lids off and rinse it out.
Yeah.
It's not as big of a biggie when it comes to metal, like the the paper label on a metal can or the food in it.
Okay.
Because that gets picked up by a magnet and it gets baled. But when it gets burned, it just all burns off.
Right.
But when it comes to the plastic, it ruins the plastic.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah. I mean, sometimes you just don't think of that stuff. And like you just, you're putting your stuff in those sorting bins and then you put it to the road and it gets picked up and magically disappears.
Yeah. Yeah. It all gets sorted here.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's good. It's good to hear that we're leaders, and, the environment's definitely important, and you hear all kinds of stuff about climate change and different things we're supposed to be doing to kind of try and help combat that. So it's nice to see when people are doing their part, for sure. Yeah. Circling back to like the bread bags, you're kind of still thinking about the innovation around trying to get them perfect. Have you spoke to any like bakeries? Like, what would be kind of your target market? Would it just be consumer, like B2C, or would you be looking to try and go like, say like Ben's Bread locally, or...
I think consumers.
Yeah.
That's who's asking for it right now. I think a lot of people are baking bread at home, especially since the pandemic.
Yeah.
And that's who's directly been asking me for it. But I haven't reached out to anybody yet. I want to find somebody who is confident in the sewing skill to be able to make a product. And I want to try it so that I know it works and I can offer it authentically and genuinely and say, okay, I use this myself. So now I'm confident that you can use it. Yeah.
And would there be any benefits to using a beeswax bread bag versus plastic? Would it extend the life of the loaf?
Yeah, beeswax is like a natural food preserver.
Oh, okay.
Think of like a baby bell. Those are beeswax.
The little wax?
Yeah,
that's all beeswax?
Yeah.
The little red? Okay.
Yeah, so beeswax it's very good at keeping food fresh. Yeah. So like cucumbers and onions and red peppers, or peppers of any color, I guess.
Yeah,
It'll
because they go bad pretty quick.
not in a beeswax wrap. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It's shocking. Like I've kept onions for weeks in my fridge.
And still crispy
Still
and
crispy.
good.
Still eat it.
Still eat it.
Yeah.
Throw it in the pan or your sandwich or whatever.
Yeah.
Still good to go.
Yeah. So the beeswax in the bread bag should keep the bread fresh longer.
Yeah.
I want to use that and know that. And then
Yeah.
offer it.
And especially because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm not a big baker. I have made a focaccia. Is that
Ooh.
the right way to say it?
Focaccia?
Focaccia.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that bread.
Yeah.
I did
Yeah.
make a couple tries of that. The first one come out, I did the recipe pretty well bang on. It was perfect. And then I tried to like double it because I wanted to make more.
Yeah.
But if you're experienced at all in baking, I think sometimes like doubling the recipe doesn't always
It doesn't always work.
right.
Yeah.
And then the middle was a little doughy.
That'll happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I was pretty happy with the first try.
That's awesome.
Second try, maybe I wasn't as precise. Maybe I rushed it. I don't know, but just didn't turn out. Any big plans for growth or expansion 2025? Like where's
Bread bags.
bread bags?
Bread bags.
That's the one. That's the sole focus of 2025 for now.
More twist ties.
More twist ties.
More twist ties out. Yeah. And then bread bags.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Twist ties, are they individually sold? Are they sold in a package? Are they sold in bulk? Can you do
Yeah.
either or?
They're sold in boxes. Yeah. A small box has 10 and a big box has 20.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Awesome.
And I just got those envelopes. The envelopes. So the envelope. I try to be really strategic with my packaging. Yeah, that envelope. So it's like misprints and coffee newspapers. You know, like you go to KFC and it has KFC and they have those. What is it, like moo cow newsprints?
You know what? I haven't been to KFC in a while, but
yeah, but I know they come from there. It's like those little flyers.
yeah.
So this company, he takes those misprints and flyers and then he turns them into these envelopes. And that was also a big deal for Hive to Home because the previous envelopes I had, they were only 10 inches long. So when a customer bought a 13-inch wrap, I'd have to fold the top to mail it to them. These are custom size envelopes that I don't have to fold the wrap anymore. So it's a better customer experience.
That's cool. So if I wanted to use these reusable envelopes, who produces them?
The company's called Greenie. Green II.
Green EII. Okay.
Yeah, Green II. I think it's called Greenie. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
And then I the stamp I use was made in Burnside. And all my tags are post-consumer box board. So they're all cereal boxes, cracker boxes.
I remember seeing that video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I make each one.
That's cool.
And when I started Hive to Home, I didn't have a hole punch.
No?
So I have a black dot on my finger from stamping like a hole through the tags with a pen from like puncturing my finger. It's like a black tattoo I have permanently because I didn't even have a hole punch when I started this.
Just minimum viable product. You use what you
Bootstrap
could.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. I believe in that too. Like when I started this podcast, like this is just like a little leaf bend down table, and I just had my kitchen table chairs, you know, because you never know like if it's gonna go or if it's gonna be well received. So you know, good for you for not like going like sometimes I get caught too much in like the getting the stuff, and I'm not so focused on the process. So this one here, I was like, well, I need to make sure like the product is good and people want to come talk to me and want to watch and all that. So it was like kind of bit by bit, I made little improvements over time instead of just like going all in and then just hoping that it's going to work out.
Yeah.
So yeah, good for you. What would have been some of the biggest learnings, like, you know, in terms of process or, you know, creating these things? I'm sure you got it down pretty well to a science.
Yeah, everything's measured. I'm a very type A personality.
So you got molds or sizing.
Oh yeah. Like all when I make the wraps, I melt everything in a crock pot, my mixture.
Okay.
So I measure my beeswax, I measure my jojoba resin and beeswax resin and jojoba. Yeah. I measure those so that it's the same every single time. Yeah.
And what role does Mr. Hive play? Is it like, does he help out at all? Or
He's comedic entertainment.
Comedic entertainment,
Yeah.
Moral support?
Very, very. He's my number one cheerleader. Like
Okay.
in my corner, no matter what.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
is hyping me up. Yeah, which is a really big deal because the business, like starting a small business, it's not like this. It's like that went well. Oh my goodness, that went terribly. That went well. Oh my goodness, Facebook says I'm not a real person and I can't have a page anymore. Oh, that went well. Crisis. Like it's so up and down. So to have somebody in your corner hyping you up no matter what has been really important. And he makes the tags.
He makes the tags?
He
All
makes the
right. So
tags.
he does make the tags. He does
Yeah.
something,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And he delivers to the stores.
He delivers? Oh, perfect.
Yeah,
So
he's
you can just focus on product and he's kind of helping getting it
quite
to where
good.
it needs to be.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah. And for shipping, do you guys use like a local courier or does he physically drop all of them off?
He does the retail, but for customers, I used Canada Post. During the strike, I pivoted to Chit Chats.
Okay.
And then now I'll use either one.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of Halagon?
No, I haven't.
So when I was doing my seafood business and I was trying to like think of ways to scale it and get my fresh local seafood in more hands, I'd come across John Bark. He's actually a young man from Turkey, and he used to be engineer for Procter and Gamble on like the distribution side. Anyway, he decided that wasn't for him. He went into business for himself, and he's kind of got a almost like an Uber Eats type setup for local courier to get people's products, business products, in the hands of consumers. And I had it set up. He's got it all by postal code. Basically, you can, if you have a Shopify website or whatever platform, you can just kind of link it in with the postal code in your back end, and that'll bring up the specific shipping cost. And you can either, as the producer, you can either eat that if they order enough, or you can just tack it on to their order. And basically, there's like a drop point. You drop all your orders off at this drop point, and then there's a user database interface too. So when you drop it off, you'll get an email that it's been received. When they get out, it'll show that it's like in transit. And then when they drop it off at the door, they'll take a picture, kind of like Uber Eats or whatever, and then it'll get posted on your dashboard. And so you can see from like the drop off to when it's in transit to when it gets to each customer, and it'll get notification that's been delivered. So that's one of the ways that I tried to scale, but then I was kind of doing all this while I was studying to be a realtor, and then I'd always wanted to do this, so I had to make the tough choice at the time to focus on what I really wanted to do, because if I'm being honest, I started the seafood thing for Dad, and then Dad sold his business, and, you know, good for him, he did very well, and I think working kind of started to become a past thought. And then it just become too much for me to manage. And I'm sure as an entrepreneur, and you guys got children, you know, it gets to a certain point where you kind of get spread too thin. So you really got to focus in on what do you really want? What's the best for you? What's the best for your family? And, you know, sometimes you got to make tough choices. So, and I can definitely attest to the ups and downs, because I mean, real estate, like any other business, you think you're on the up, and then you think like, oh, well, it'll just like keep linearly going up.
No.
But no.
It's like up. Yeah, it is. It's crazy. Up and down, up and down.
So you just got to kind of hang on and ride that wave.
Yeah, because it'll get better.
Yeah.
Yeah, there'll be another up.
Yeah.
Yeah, sometimes it feels like it's all over.
I know.
Yeah.
But I think the thing is, if you can dig in and you believe in yourself and the product and your vision, you know, I'm a big believer of like, there's two types of people. There's people that believe they can, and people that believe they can't.
They're both right. Yeah.
It took a right out of my mouth. You must have heard the same quote.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
You know, if you want it, you just got to keep going.
Yeah.
It's just going to be a bumpy road, and eventually I think the bumps become less bumpy, and you can kind of just keep riding it out. But it's like anything. It's like life. Just when you think you got it figured out, it's like, here's some more life to figure out.
More life.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, good luck.
That's about it. But like, I use these every day in my house.
Yeah.
And it's a product that I truly believe in. So like, I believe in it. I had to believe in myself to be able to ride that up and down, up and down, up and down. Yeah.
What's some of the biggest things you've learned about yourself in this whole process?
Probably to get real clear on how I want to spend my time, and to get real clear on what aligns, like what aligns with me and what doesn't. Because
Yeah.
you can't do everything,
You can't do it
and
all.
you can't do it all today, and like that's okay.
Did
Yeah.
it take you a while to realize that that's okay?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
I felt like it took me a long time to
Yeah.
realize, like, hey, like you did a lot of stuff today. Check it off your list. Yeah, you got some stuff left, but I'm a big to-do list guy, and I
Yeah.
think it's important because sometimes, like, I don't know if you've had these days, like you're running around, you're busy, you're doing all this stuff, and you got a long to-do list of things, but you're not quite getting at all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to like write your objectives down for the day,
Yeah.
so that at the end you can kind of sit down, cross some stuff off, and you can kind of measure like, oh, okay, no, I did do
Yeah.
a lot.
Being able to see it visually is very important.
I'm a visual person. Yeah.
And I have my vision board on my phone. It's my screensaver.
I used to think that vision boards and all this stuff was like hokey.
Comes
And
true.
you know what? I'm a believer.
Put it in front of you, and then when you focus on something, it will come true.
Yeah, it's like that manifestation.
Yeah. That griddle, for me, that griddle was a big deal. Being able to make the wraps 93% faster. So like as a business, I haven't raised my prices. I've been doing the wraps for 6 years, and I've never changed my prices. And because on
Not even with inflation.
nothing, no, I haven't touched them. Because on my end, I've driven down my costs, made myself more efficient. Like getting that griddle made me way more efficient, reduced the amount of time I needed to make them, made a better product too. But I've never changed my prices, and I offer free shipping. So I eat that cost. Shipping's not free; it just went up 25 cents,
Right.
25%.
Yeah,
actually.
I did. Yeah.
So I eat that, but it's a better customer experience, and I work harder to drive down my cost.
Yeah, you know what? That's great to hear because I worked in the corporate world, in the consumer packaged goods world. I was. Does Unilever say anything to you?
Yeah.
Some people, it's a parent brand. It's a parent company, so like
Yeah.
some people don't know, but probably most people they'll see like the little blue U. So we had like Breyers ice cream, Ben and Jerry's, Klondike popsicle, Magnum novelty bars, and that was primarily what I was responsible for, was the gas convenience market segment, as well as the distribution for Atlantic Canada. And then at the end, I was managing the sales team for that segment, and in the end, I was doing the sales team for large format retail as well. And I find like every year it was like, oh, we're shrinking the bag, or there's less ice cream in the tub, or oh, our raw goods went up from our, and Unilever is a big sustainably motivated company, and they're always trying to do like Rainforest Alliance, fair trade. So they're always good like that. But anytime a price went up, it passed to the consumer, or, they'd shrink the bag so you get less, but they charge the same price.
Yeah.
So I found it was very much around like, how can we make more money without that? They didn't want to take a hit, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah. And to me, it all comes clean in the wash. Like there's a bottom line. It is a business, but for me, it's about the people on the planet. So for me, it's about, if it fills my passion for being connected to waste and talking about waste and staying connected to that like-minded community, it's about meeting people in that community that care about it. And it's about making a change with reducing single-use plastics.
So although you want to be a profitable business and generate revenue, like it sounds like it's not like, obviously it's a big goal, but it's not like.
My goal is not the moon.
Right.
I want to keep it at a pace that I enjoy doing it, and that I can continue to recognize names that come in on orders and go in and hand an order off to a store and stay and have a coffee. Yeah. And take on what I can do well and enjoy doing it. That's really important to me.
So you really want to kind of be like engaged with your customers.
Oh, 100%.
Ingrained in the community, and kind of like a beacon for anybody that really wants to limit their waste, do better, be healthier. Yeah. And it's I get it. Like people got to make money. Companies got shareholders, but sometimes I feel like maybe if they had like your mindset, we'd maybe all be a little bit better off as a people,
Yeah.
Like money's just such a, I don't know. I look at it as a tool more now.
Yeah.
but money isn't everything. Like I've been learning that more and more and more as I get older.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's hard though. And social media is hard too because you show up and there's people putting stuff in front of your face all the time. Like I thrift a lot of my stuff and I can't put a link on my Instagram, go buy this.
Right, because you thrifted
It's thrifted it. And a lot of it's like hand-me-downs from my grandmother. So it's
funny how everything's coming back in style though, eh?
honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But social media is such a big push for that. Stuff. Consumer.
Yeah.
The social pressure. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, you always see like, it's like I was talking a little bit before we got going. It's like I wasn't a big social media guy. I had it. Like I remember too, I'm 36, so I remember landlines. I remember
Life
CD
before the
Walkmans.
internet. Yeah.
I remember when Facebook, you could just post a picture and like it, and you could chat with people, and like nobody could really put their opinion on what you posted. And
All Instagram was a picture with a filter.
right.
It was so much simpler.
Yeah. I remember when Instagram showed up, I was like, well, there's already Facebook. Why do we need this?
Yeah. Yeah.
And now it's just like consume. Here's a product. Buy it.
It is.
Yeah.
It
And it's
is.
just like everything's kind of just like jammed down your throat almost.
Yeah.
And, definitely has its positives.
Yep.
But I think if you get caught in that real wheel, you can really kind of waste some time and go down some rabbit holes for sure.
Yeah. And not feel good after consuming all that content.
No,
Like,
rarely.
There's so many pros to it. Social media it can be great in so many ways. But then when you're sifting through products being shoved down your throat for 30 minutes and you put it face down, you look around at what you got, sometimes it doesn't feel good.
No. Or like you look at the time you wasted sitting there.
Yeah.
We don't have kids yet, but maybe I could have walked the dog. Maybe the stuff I'm kind of worried I'm not going to get to, I could have got to, but I wasted an hour scrolling through TikTok reels or Instagram reels or whatever. So it's like, yeah. And very often I'm like, ugh, like maybe I could make better use of my time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard though.
It
Because
is
it's
hard.
meant to be addicting.
It is. It's
Yeah.
by design.
Yeah, it is.
And then the algorithm tracks what you like and what you like to watch. And then it's more of that, more.
But then that's hard as a business owner too, because you have to show up to feed the algorithm.
Right.
Because if you take a week off and then you post again,
Right.
you don't get the same traction that you did. So it is. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Do you post every day?
I do. I try my best to, at least in my stories. And like I said, I just show up however I am, because for me, I believe in that. Like I don't want a perfectly curated social media, because I'm a real person and I want real people to know that that's okay. Like I posted a story before I got here that there was a spider web in my shower the other day because I didn't shower for like a week.
Yeah.
But there's people out there that also don't shower for like a week.
Yeah.
And like I try to normalize a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
I bought a blanket at Value Village and it took me 8 soaks in my tub to get the water to run clear.
Oh, wow.
But I posted all that and a lot of people resonated with that because they did it too. Yeah.
So you think there's more people out there doing similar things that are just like not putting it out there?
Just people being people, but then when you show up on social media, you almost feel like you have to show up in a certain way. I don't want to do that. I'm going to show up as I am and attract people as they are.
Yeah, I'm a pretty, I would say I resonate with that. Like I'm very much like what you see is what you get.
Yeah.
I'm not putting on a show.
Yeah.
I kind of got sucked in a little bit to like the, oh, you're a realtor now. You got to look like one. And like, you look at like the old school realtors and like, don't get me wrong. Like anybody that's a realtor that might be watching this, if you wear a suit, good for you. If you like to wear a suit, awesome. If you feel good in a suit, even better. I do like dressing up. I don't mind it. I feel depending on the audience, I think it's, I believe in kind of tailoring your presentation to who you're going to see. But, I'm very much like, if I want to wear this quarter zip and pants and go show homes, like I'm going to do it. If I want to wear a suit, I'll do it.
But that's the important part. That's what you want to do, not what you feel like you have to do.
Yeah.
And honestly, I feel like what I have to say on social media is important enough that it doesn't matter if I'm wearing Mr. Hive to Home sweater. What I have to say is valuable enough that what stupid piece of cotton I'm wearing doesn't diminish or increase the value of what I'm saying and the message I have.
No, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, if you're putting good stuff out there, yeah, to your point, you're a regular person. And I
Yeah.
think it's important that people see regular people
Yeah.
doing good things. And it's like you don't have to look like the picturesque entrepreneur, realtor, business person, lady. Um, as long as you're out there doing good, your message is good, and you show up comfortable, I think,
Yeah.
what else could you ask for?
And like I try to normalize reusing things and letting them look reused.
Mm,
And you can't do that when it's like perfectly curated.
yeah.
After a couple months, your beeswax wraps, they might have a stain on them. Mine do. Mine look like they've been reused because they have been. I've used them into the ground.
Mm,
I use them and I use them and I reuse them and I abuse them to see how far I can push it.
yeah.
And so I really believe in letting reusable things look reused. And you can only show up, but you can only do that by showing up and showing what something reusable looks like
Mm.
as it's been reused.
Yeah, and I found like I've been better with that. I think it's been since really going into business for myself. Like I don't know, as an employee, I just knew that I had X amount of dollars coming every month, and then if something had a little pinhole in it or a little stain, and I'm not a great stain remover, so sometimes it just like I wouldn't throw it out, but maybe I'd go donate it, be like, oh, I'll just buy something new. But now, I try and hang on to things a little bit more and make it work, or like not like clothing related, but like our dryer stopped working. The drum wasn't turning, and I was like, oh, let's just buy a new one. It's not worth fixing. And my wife was like, no, you're crazy. We're not spending $500 or whatever they cost now for probably more than that, because we bought our dryer when the original one that was in the house let go. And anyway, she YouTubed the model.
Oh, good for her.
She bought the parts. She took it apart and she put it together. And she's like, "Hey, Chris, come down here." And I was like, "Oh." I come down. She was like, "Turn the knob," and it was spinning. And I was like, "Huh."
That's amazing. And learned a new skill out of it.
Right?
Yeah. But you can't get that boost, that confidence without doing the hard thing.
Mm.
I love that.
Yeah. And she was super happy. I was proud too. I was like, "Oh, well, don't got to spend $500-$600 on a new dryer." And luckily we have one. Like when the original one broke, we were coming back from Mexico, and I went to do a load of laundry, and it went to dry, and it was just like clink clink.
Oh, no.
So we just bought like a very, like, some of them look like spaceships
Oh,
almost. So we just got the basic one, and luckily it's basic enough that you can still open it up, take it apart. So if it was more advanced, like, I don't know if we could have got the same result, but
I find they're so computerized that they are hard to fix, like some of the newer stuff.
and I think it's almost like capitalism. It's like there's a
Plan-
set life cycle because they
planned
want
op-
you to buy more.
Planned obsolescence.
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
it's very much everything that we have now is planned. Like nothing's made to last.
or to be fixed. To
Yeah.
repair it if it breaks, it's unfixable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Funny thing, speaking of unfixable, I have a buddy of mine. I don't know why, just talking about fixing things. He's a musician and producer. He's done a lot of stuff with Classified. My buddy Mark from Jiu-Jitsu. And anyway, he repairs lamps.
Cool.
Literally pays his mortgage repairing lamps, mainly for old people that love their lamps.
That's awesome.
And he's like, man, it's crazy. Because like, think about a lamp. There's like like that one, there's a rod, there's a wire that goes through it, and there's a plug outlet where you screw the light bulb in. And he's like, usually it's like you gotta change that out, or maybe the cord's funky, and he does it. And I don't know what he charges. It must be reasonable because he's got business, and he has he obviously a musician. He's very artsy, and he's got like an eclectic collection of lamps of like all different vintages and years, and he's got them all set up on these different switches where you can set like for different moods, I guess.
Cool.
Depending on like maybe who he's having over or whatever. And it's like you walk into his place and it's just like you can tell a musician lives there.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it is pretty neat. And but yeah, it just goes to show like not everything has to be thrown away. Like if you want to fix it and you want to keep from just like consuming and throwing
Replacing.
away and replacing, like there are methods out there, people that could help.
People are passing down handy skills like that, the handy skills, the handwork of removing stains. Like people on average wear their clothes 7 times before they get rid of it. But there's people still out there with the handiwork and hand skills of being able to remove stains and repair clothes. Who would, like the cobbler on Quimple Road.
Yeah.
If you ever need shoes fixed, he's amazing.
Really?
Quimple Shoe Repair. It's crazy. I've had them what's the bottom of your shoe?
The sole.
Is that the sole?
Yeah.
I've had them re-heel boots, re-sole shoes.
Wow.
Like there's people out there still with those handy skills to be able to fix stuff, thankfully.
Yeah, I feel like that's like a lost art.
Truly.
Because everyone's like, it doesn't work. It's at the road.
Yeah.
I see garbage all the time that's like, man, kids' toys, stuff like, from infants. And
I love finding stuff in the garbage.
Yeah.
I do.
Do you go pick around?
I do.
Yeah.
When I was a kid, my grandmother and I were driving around looking at the garbage, and we found a papasan chair.
What's a papasan chair?
Oh, like those big tub chairs?
Okay.
They're like, I don't know if it's wicker or bamboo, but it's like those big,
Right.
tub chairs. We found one in the garbage, and she kept it at her house for no less than 15 years, and was like, when you move out and get your own place, you can have this back, and I got it.
Yeah.
But we found it in the garbage when I was a kid.
Just repurposed it, cleaned it up, and
and it was totally fine. I don't even think we had to clean. There was nothing wrong with it. It wasn't broken.
It was just
they were just done with it.
They were just done.
Like their use was done with it. Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of goes to the old adage, one man's trash is another man's treasure.
Honestly, though.
Yeah.
People are throwing stuff out because it's also inconvenient sometimes to deal with so much stuff. When you have so much stuff, it's not easy to think, okay, I'll donate this here. I'll put this on Marketplace. I'll find homes or purposes for all these things, and my purpose is done with it. So sometimes it's also just, it comes to that point where it's like, just get rid of it. Stuff.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff. Yeah, we collect a lot of stuff as humans. Yeah. All right. Well, I know you're a busy gal. I got a couple things to get to too. Would you have any kind of advice as we kind of leave the people to get back to their day on anything to do with the environment, anything?
I would say check your local waste sorting guidelines.
Mm-hmm.
Always check what's accepted in your local waste sorting streams.
Mm.
Learn from solid waste educators and try beeswax wraps. Also, because everyone who makes beeswax wraps makes them a little differently with their ingredients, different ratios, different oils, different amount of pine rods. And so they all feel different. They all function a little bit differently.
Okay.
So get your hands on Hive to Home beeswax wraps and feel them.
All right.
Yeah.
And don't throw away all your stuff. Repurpose it.
Yeah, and don't put them in the
Reuse
dishwasher.
it. Yeah, and don't put them in the dishwasher. Beeswax wraps, no bueno in the dishwasher.
Or the microwave. I have done that too, but the freezer is okay.
Freezer's okay?
Freezer's okay. Yeah.
No microwave, but freezer's good.
Yeah.
So no dishwasher, no microwave, freeze, fridge, good.
If you need to wash them, like if you use it and you get a little tomato juice on there, just wipe it off with a damp kitchen cloth.
Okay.
Give it a little wipe and it's totally fine.
All right.
If you get something stuck on there, food doesn't really stick to them. They stick really well to themselves and to containers, but food doesn't really stick to them. But if you have something on there, maybe it's some avocado or something, put a little bit of soap on there, a gentle scrub, rinse it, and it's good to go. Don't use hot water and don't scrub it. That'll hurt the wax.
Right, because you're going to scrub it off.
Yeah.
All right. And where can people find your products? Where can they buy them?
Yeah, hive2homeNS.com.
All right.
Yeah.
And the link in your Instagram as well?
Yeah, it's there. Yeah.
All right.
Also, Hive to Home NS on Instagram.
At Hive to Home NS on Instagram. Sorry, at Instagram. All right. Well, thanks so much for coming on. I really enjoyed this. And thank you so much for the beeswax wraps. That'll go well with the package that we got at the Christmas fair.
Thank you. I put some dogs in there.
Pardon me?
I put some dogs.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah.
You got some dogs?
Yeah.
Let me just check it out before
Because I see
we
your
wrap
dogs
it up.
on there all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah. Oh, wow. This one?
Yeah, the green dogs. There you go.
That's neat. So hopefully they can see that. That's awesome. And that's, guys, what it looks like. So you can kind of wrap it up on whatever.
They're hard to hurt. You just squish, like form them with your hands. You can fold them into baggies, but just form them around whatever.
This one's cool, too, because unbestowed to you, we did our honeymoon in Jamaica last December. And we brought a bunch of shells and some sand, and we got it in like one of those sealable mason jars, and we just got it like in our bathroom, and we got one of those big conches.
Yeah.
So anyway, just kind of remind me of our honeymoon. So
that's awesome. That is a fun part of Hive to Home, is that picking the fabric. Like there's so much fabric to pick from.
Yeah, so you can always make new designs and
Always.
new patterns.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll definitely be putting these to good use.
Awesome.
I'll let you get back out in your day, and
Thanks.
yeah, hope to have you on again and talk about some new stuff.
Yeah.
All
Let you know
right.
how the bread bags go.
Yeah, please do. Yeah, that's exciting.
Thank you.
All right. We'll
Thanks.
talk to you later.
Okay.